What I'm going to ask you to do is go grab a glass of water. Water is going to be part of the meditation today, or at the very least, the best way to put it is that we are going to be honoring our connection to water as part of this guided meditation about being okay with tough choices. Today, I had to make a difficult choice. I had to choose myself and my goals over giving my energy to something that wasn't my mission, and I had to let it go. And on top of that, I had to be okay with letting it go, because there's a tendency when you've taken something on, and particularly if it's taken a long time to get there. Hi, Barbara. I'm glad you're here. When you've taken a long time to get there, and all of a sudden you find yourself in this position of having to be present, be available for something that isn't ultimately your dream, your mission. I would love to say that you need to look at it from the perspective of what's most important to me. And ultimately, you have to be most important to you, right? We have to be most important to ourselves because, like they say about, the oxygen mask on the airplane, put your own on first before reaching around to help somebody else. And taking care of yourself means making tough choices to put yourself first and being okay once you've made that tough choice. It is not easy, and I get that it's not easy. I get that it feels like it's eviscerating you sometimes. And the key here is that it does not matter. What matters is that you keep choosing yourself. So, we're going to do a meditation about choice, but not so much stress relief as the aftermath of the stress, that you choose what's good for you, even if it's the harder choice, and that you are okay with that. And that, by the way, and here's what sucks. What sucks is that sometimes you end up hurting someone else. Okay? In other words, they have expectations of you doing something, or you being someone, or you behaving a certain way, or you thinking a certain way that you don't. And it hurts them because you go, no, actually, I have to put myself first here. I have to think of this as what my needs are. Because if you are not, I'm glad it's timely, Barbara, I'm glad it's timely. If you are not putting yourself first, then the only thing you're doing is prolonging the amount of time it's going to take for you to have to put yourself first. That's it. We can argue about it all we want, but ultimately you have to be the boss of you. And so this meditation is going to be about being okay with your choices, being okay with tough choices, not beating yourself up for making the tough choices, and being okay that sometimes if someone else wants you to be different than who you are. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Expectations equals not just future resentments, but also future disappointments, Shannon. I think that's another way of looking at it. Is that if someone else has expectations of you, then if you live up to them, then they're happy. If you don't live up to them, then they're disappointed or sad or angry or whatever. But here's the problem with that is that then they've put, and we do this too, everybody does this, then you put your happiness, your peace of mind in someone else's hands. You're taking your control, your dominion and stewardship over your own health, your own life, your own soul, your own goals, and handing them off to somebody else. And that's not helpful to you. Ultimately, I think we need to be responsible to and for ourselves. And even when we make the tough choices, we need to get to the place where we're okay with those tough choices, because in the long run, they are what will help us the most. So, here's what the mission is. The mission is to get into a place where we're okay with that. And if you're just joining in, grab a glass of water. You're gonna want it towards the end because we're gonna be taking some stuff in and the water's gonna represent that. So, to get into the meditation, here's what I want you to do. I want you, normally I'll say, um, what I really want you to do is I want you to normally go, okay, feet flat on the ground, whatever is going to take for you to be comfortable, blah, blah, blah. This time, we're going to start in a slightly uncomfortable position. So I want you to like put an elbow on something and cross your arms funny. Do something that feels a little uncomfortable as part of this, and just let yourself be a little, feel the discomfort of that. Feel the discomfort of doing something funky, crossing your feet funny or curling your toes funny, or even, like what I do, I do this thing with my fingers where I take my pinky and I do this with it, and it's a little uncomfortable, but not horrible. But whatever it is, make yourself just slightly uncomfortable. And from that place, I want you to deepen your breathing and see what it feels like from when you're a little bit uncomfortable, your arms are crossed, your back is hunched. See if you can take a deep breath. And if you happen to be able to type as you do this, let me know if this feels good or if it feels funky, because I have a feeling you're going to be like, this is a little funky, it's a little harder to breathe. It's going to be a little harder to breathe, and that is okay for now because we're going to be doing something about it. So I want you to see if you can deepen your breathing as you sit like this. And I'm going to ask you to go ahead and within each breath, in through the nose and out through the mouth, in through the nose, out through the mouth. I want you to, within each one of those, see if you can slow it down, even if it feels a little uncomfortable. Get past the discomfort. Yeah, Barbara says it's awkward. It is. It's awkward to breathe when you're uncomfortable. And that's what we want. We want to feel that discomfort. We want to acknowledge it. Okay. So keep sitting like this. I know it feels weird, but keep sitting in whatever way is a little uncomfortable for you. And as you inhale, I want you to take note of the discomfort. And as you exhale, I want you to go ahead and let your eyelids droop a little bit. And inhale and acknowledge the discomfort. And exhale and let your eyelids droop just a little bit more. And inhale, take note of what feels uncomfortable, if their muscles being stretched funky, and exhale and let your eyelids flutter all the way closed. And in this moment of sitting with discomfort, as you deepen your breathing as much as possible, I want you to imagine that this discomfort, this funky way that you are sitting, is actually the way your entire being feels when you are doing something that is not in your best interest. On some level, it can be energetic, it can be physical, it can be emotional, psychological, analytical, spiritual. When you are walking a path that is not your path, this is the kind of discomfort some part of you is feeling, whether or not you acknowledge it to yourself. And so think on that as you keep trying to breathe through this awkwardness. And then as you inhale and you breathe through that awkwardness, and as you exhale and you acknowledge the awkwardness, the next inhale, I want you to take one part of what's awkward and gently make it relax into something that is not awkward. So for me, I've taken my pinky finger in my left hand and I have unclenched my left hand, so now my hand is just open and not awkward. And on your next inhale, allow some other part of you that has been sitting a little awkwardly to unclench and be back to normal. And then on the next inhale, allow one other part of you to become not awkward but to open. And on the next inhale, make sure that your hands, wherever they've been, go back down to your knees or your thighs. And on your next inhale, if your legs have been crossed or your feet have been crossed, uncross them and put your feet flat on the ground. And if your back has been rounded or hunched over or arched or in any way squirked, allow your spine to straighten so that you're sitting nice and tall. And then if your shoulders have been hunched forward or wherever they've been, allow them to raise and go round to the back and then drop down so that they're nice and open. So now you've gone from that space of feeling awkward to feeling open and like you're facing in the right direction. And I want you to take your mind back as you breathe to that space where you felt that awkwardness, that, oh, I can't quite breathe. And note for yourself how that felt. Remember how that feeling of awkward and almost pain felt. That is the exact feeling that your entire being goes through, subconsciously or subtly, whenever you are doing something that is counter to your highest path. So take this time and remind yourself about that. And within that framework of feeling more comfortable because you have removed what was awkward, remember the last time, take note right now, the last time that you did something out of obligation or did something because you felt even a little coerced, or you felt like you had to do it even though you didn't really want to. Perhaps you promised to be somewhere you didn't really want to go, or you promised to do something you didn't really want to do. Remember that moment that felt like, well, okay, I should. And notice if the part of you that is no longer awkward physically feels just a little clenched again. That slight resentment, that slight guilt, that slight, oh, I don't really want to do this feeling comes over us anytime we don't want to do what we've said we're going to do. And either we have to become okay with doing it, or we have to make the tough decision and release ourselves of that obligation, even if it means that it makes someone else uncomfortable. Because your comfort here becomes paramount when you realize that the only way to do your life is by being full of integrity to who you are and to what you need. And so as you inhale, remind yourself that you are a being of integrity. And as you exhale, release an expectation you have of yourself that you don't really want to meet. And as you inhale, remind yourself that you are a being of honesty. And as you exhale, release an obligation. And as you inhale, remind yourself that you are a being of truth. Say those words, in fact, say, I am a being of truth. And as you exhale, release yourself of the guilt of not living up to someone else's expectation. And as you inhale, remind yourself that you are a being of clarity. And as you exhale, release the bad feeling that you put on yourself when you agree to something you don't really want to do. And as you inhale, remind yourself, say the words, I am honest with myself. And as you exhale, release the obligation again. Sure, why not? Because it is the obligation of agreeing to something you don't want. And as you inhale, remind yourself, I am a being of truth and I am true to myself. And as you exhale, allow that darkness that accompanies doing something you don't really want to do to fade away. And as you inhale, Begin to formulate a promise to yourself that you deserve to follow your path. You don't even have to promise it yet. Just begin to think about what it might be like, and then release that expectation of yourself. And as your next inhale, make that promise just a little bit more firm. Yeah, I am allowed to live my path. And as you exhale, remind yourself, I don't have to live to others' expectations. And as you inhale, remind yourself that you can handle this honesty. And as you exhale, release the guilt of other people's wishes for what you would do. And as you inhale, bring in the joy that comes with integrity. And as you exhale, release the sorrow that comes with preconceived notions. And keep that aspect going. Inhale some joy and exhale sorrow. Inhale joy and exhale sorrow. And one more time, inhale joy and exhale sorrow. And when you are ready, remind yourself of what it felt like when you were sitting awkwardly. And know that every time you say you'll do something you don't really want to do, you are putting some part of yourself into that awkward, almost painful position. And if you are comfortable, make yourself the promise that you will do less of that you will not make promises you don't really want to keep, because it makes no one happy. You are unhappy because you are under obligation, and other people are unhappy because they may get some of you, but they won't get the best of you if you promise them something you don't really want to keep. So this is a turning point for you now, to remember that you take in only what you want to take in, and you accept only what you want to accept. Everything else will come back to bite you on the butt. So allow yourself the opportunity one last time to take in that feeling of joy of being true to yourself, and release the sorrow of obligation. Inhale the joy of having clarity about what you want, and exhale the guilt of obligation. Exhale the honesty and clarity of walking your right path, and exhale even the wish of doing something that you don't want to do. It's not your responsibility anymore. We are beings of integrity. We are beings of light, and we are beings of truth. So remind yourself of that the next time someone says to you, would you do, and you want to accept the responsibility because you feel like you have to. That's not what this is about anymore. You are a being of integrity, and that integrity starts with yourself. And so now, take a moment and thank the part of you you just got in touch with, because it's a very important part. And as you exhale, allow your body to relax and release. And as you inhale, very gently wiggle your fingers. And as you exhale, very gently wiggle your toes. And as you inhale, wiggle both fingers and toes. And as you exhale, very gently round your head forward. And as you inhale, very gently look up with your eyes closed though. And as you exhale, round your head forward. And on this next inhale, as you round back up, very softly open your eyes. And when you're ready, come back to the here and now. And I asked you to have a glass of water ready. And so what I want you to do is to think about walking your best path as a thirst. And when you do walk your best path, you are quenching that thirst. So the need to walk your best path, it's a thirst we have because our spirit, our very being cries out to live with integrity. And so remind yourself that walking your best path is a thirst, a need. It's a need that your spirit has, and a need that your body has, and a need that your mind and heart all have. So I want you to take that need and realize that it's a thirst, and then take your water and drink some of that water and quench that thirst with integrity and honesty. Here we go. And that, my friends, is how you become okay with making tough decisions. The decisions become a lot easier to make when you align them up against what is your highest path. If it is towards your highest path, it's like drinking water. It's simple, it's basic. If it's not, and you don't really want to do it, the way to be okay with it is to see and sense that awkwardness. If you feel awkward, it's not the right thing. It might be hard, the thing that's the right thing, but it won't be awkward. So remember that. If it makes you feel uncomfortable because it's hard, that's okay. Nothing wrong with being uncomfortable because it's hard. But if it makes you feel uncomfortable because you kind of really don't want to do it, that a red flag is going to go bing and you have to pay attention to it.